Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth Moroska with Kudos magazine, and today I am with a special guest, Amy Krug, who is the director of ele'splace of Greater Flint and Genesee County. And with that being said, I have to tell you, this is a person who got involved with something that's actually near and dear to my heart, and it includes providing services for families and children that are encountering grief. So, Amy, welcome, and thank you so much for taking this time during this pandemic to meet with me.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you and to connect with people out there. It's important that people know that we are still here and still serving families in our community. And now during this time when what could be called and is called collective grief. I mean, we are all grieving right now. Thankfully, most of us are not grieving the death of someone, which is generally where we focus. But most of us are grieving something, whether it's the fact that we're not with our families, we're not able to see our friends, we're missing important milestones in our personal lives, in our friends' lives. And adding on to that, people are dying because death occurs always as a part of life. And with the COVID-19, we're seeing an increase in deaths, especially in the Greater Flint and Genesee County area. So it's important for people to know we're still here.
And I think one of the things that normal through grief is dealing with it and having that support system.
Sure.
One of the unique things that's happening now is there is a disconnect, with that personal distancing that we're doing. And whether it's the person that passes away or the family, even having that connection, right now there's a breakdown in that natural process of death and dying. So with that, I mean, what advice do you have for families that are faced with, even if it's not a COVID-19 death, let's say that you have a family member who has long-term been sick and now they're passing away.
Sure.
What advice do you have for families, to cope with this?
Well, funerals and memorials are really a key part of the mourning process. And being with others that are grieving and being able to express those emotions and having a chance to say goodbye collectively is, for many people, the start of that healing process.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me personally, my grandfather died just the beginning of March, and my family received so much support through his funeral process by being able to connect with friends that were supporting us and family members and to share those stories and just to know that he was loved not just by us but by other people. So it has been really challenging just to be able to support friends that have been going through a death, have experienced that during this time where we can't physically be together. But there's still ways that we can help those people in our lives. And one of them is to connect with the family virtually and share a story about the person. That's one of the most important things. I think it just reinforces that the person's life was meaningful, that it was important, that their impact was beyond just what we know. Sometimes you get to hear an aspect of someone you didn't even know about, and it's another nuanced way of remembering your person. We encourage people to write a letter to the deceased. Sometimes children and adults are not being able to say goodbye to their person or visit their person because they've died, just due to the, visitor restrictions and things like that. They can write a letter to their person and let them know what they would have wanted them to know. They can either keep that or even some people choose to burn that letter and release those words into the atmosphere so that that's to their person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, work together to plan memorial for gathering when it's permitted again, because we will get to the point where we will be able to safely gather. Don't know the date or when that's all going to happen, but there will be a time. And that can include the kids as well. It's really important that we're including the children as part of their process. And, if they're not able to write that letter themselves, maybe you could talk through it. You could say, what would you have wanted your person to know? And, you can help write that down, or you can have them draw pictures, all of those things. Um, those
It's
are
smart.
always really concrete ways of doing that. And one of the best things I think about what Ellie's Place does when helping individuals deal with grief is that we are very activity based, very hands on. I tease sometimes when people hear about a peer support program, they kind of envision the idea of a bunch of people sitting around in a circle talking about themselves. And while we certainly do the circle and talk about our person and who we are, 99% of what we do is based on activities. And
Mhm.
so those are things that we're continuing to share with our current families and new families, and even promoting out there on our social media and on our website. So there's just different ways that families are able to gather together and provide them some structure about how they might want to talk about their person. It helps build their coping skills, it helps build those communication skills, and it really helps families to start that grieving process.
One of the things that you said that I think is really key, and all of us need to be reminded of this throughout life, but especially during the grieving process, is each of us have unique ways that we communicate, whether it's through daily activity, but especially through grief, where some people through written form or talking about it. And it's not always just like because they're young. Some people may feel more inclined to write it down in solitude. But one of the things that you talked about with, aside from the group circle, these hands-on art activities
Mhm.
for kind of tapping into what we're feeling inside as we're going through these stages of dealing with death and dying. And I remember a while ago you had some artwork that you've shared in multiple ways from some of the youth that have gone through your program. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I felt it was beautiful and you could feel the healing literally in some of these pieces.
Well, there's a couple different projects. One of my favorites, and I wish I had my little props. We have these really great cardboard masks, and we get them from Michael's or from Oriental Traders online. I mean, they're not fancy or anything like that. And it's called an inside out mask is the activity. So
Mhm.
they take the mask, and on the outside, you write down all of the words somebody might see if they were looking at you. And then on the inside, what are all those emotions that maybe somebody doesn't see? They wouldn't know
Mhm.
just by looking at you. And
Right. It's powerful.
it is a
Yeah.
really great way to be able to talk about those things that,
Mhm.
maybe others don't see. And it's always nice to say, oh, you're angry too? I didn't know
Mhm.
you were mad, because,
Mhm.
we all know sadness is part of the grief process. But, there's so many other emotions that we experience, and being able to share those and be able to talk about those, that can be so healing.
Mhm.
Another one of the activities we've shared with our families as part of um, our outreach during this time of social isolation has been something called the emotion ocean. So we put
I
you put
haven't
in
heard
the
of this.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's a really cool activity, and I'm probably going to do a horrible job explaining it, but it is on our Facebook page, so you can
Right.
go back and look at some of our posts. But basically, you take a piece of paper and you draw in the ocean all of the emotions that might be under there, the emotions before the death, the emotions after the death, and
Mhm.
then all the scary things that could be in the ocean. And then you build your life raft, and your
Mhm.
life raft are all those things that you can do to help yourself when you're feeling those emotions. So
It's
it could be,
wonderful.
yeah, call a friend,
Mhm.
send a text, take a walk, um, play with the dog, draw a picture. And it's hard to remember, but a lot of those things we can still do. there's
Right,
still a
right.
lot of things that we can do.
And it's empowering because I
It
think,
is.
and actually the analogy that you were giving about being in the ocean is really appropriate for being in the midst of grieving, because I always say grief is like a wave. It comes in and then it goes out. And I didn't know this until we went through,
Mhm.
multiple family deaths in a very short window of time. But one of the things was, I would notice there would be a moment of calm and then an overcoming. And that idea of the boat, I think, is so empowering.
Well, I
And
just saw somebody post a meme not too long ago. It said, "We're all in the same storm, but we're all in different boats."
mm,
And think about that, so yeah, there's a
powerful.
lot of craziness that's going on out there,
Mhm,
but some
mhm.
people are just holding on to the floating log that's going by, and other people are in a yacht. So
Mhm.
depending on what your personal experience
Really
has
well
been,
said. Yeah.
those
Yeah.
different, and depending on what your resources are, and
Mhm.
depending on,
Your
where,
support system.
where
Who do
you
you
were
have that's
before
helping?
that, exactly. Who are
Mhm.
you in social isolation with? I mean,
Right.
that could be good or bad,
Better have the right people in
but
your boat.
exactly.
Literally.
Yeah, no,
Literally.
and I think that makes a lot of difference. So,
Mhm,
like,
mhm,
is really, that's one of the things I'm really proud of, is that even though we're not delivering our programs in the way that we have traditionally, we've
mhm.
still been able to connect with our existing families.
That's
We've still been
wonderful.
able to serve new
Yeah.
families.
Yeah.
Um, we've got calls that we're not on site, but we're taking calls, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Love
People are
that.
able
What's
to
your phone
call.
number real quick?
Sure, it's 810-232-3040.
And your
Um,
Facebook handle too, because you were talking about some of the things that
sure.
you have there.